Don't run before you can walk. Okay, hear me out. I know it's such a worn-out phrase with its use reserved for those special moments when parents want to smugly lecture their kids. And look at me, dedicating an entire video on the saying and not even having kids yet, so is this just a long-winded way for me to prematurely run before I can walk? Well, whilst all that may be true, if you give me a couple minutes of your time, I'll turn that worn-out phrase into a priceless nugget of wisdom that will make anything you set your mind to feel like a light breeze on a full head of hair. With the boosting confidence this understanding brings, I now look at my life as being split into two phases, before I fully understood this phrase and after. Before it, I was as sharp as a marble when it comes to judgment calls, second-guessing myself, unable to spot a bad decision if it came with a warning label. But then on one typical night, lounging about with my feet up, I was watching the 80s adaptation of the Belgian detective Poirot. I know that's a window into my sad life you didn't ask for. Anyway, in the episode, he quipped to his sidekick with the same saying, but in a bolder, more profound way. It may just have been his broken English, but he said, but we must not try to walk before we can jump, eh? There's something profound about this wording. It's like we can only grasp true wisdom when we willingly sink deep into the activity slowly and master the fundamentals first. In doing this, not only does everything fall into place within the confines of the activity itself, I've also found that the benefits extend outside of the activity, giving you real-world confidence backed up by your ability that helps you achieve anything you set your mind to. It can be simplified into this principle. Mastering the fundamentals of any skill brings priceless real-world confidence. There's actually a quote by the writer Robert Greene that illustrates this truth further. Direct yourself towards the small things you're good at. Do not dream to make grand plans for the future, but instead concentrate on becoming proficient at these simple and immediate skills. This will bring you confidence. Whatever skill you dedicate your time to, you often find the most progression when you go back to basics. I noticed this when I was learning guitar. Learning way too much theory caused me to hit a wall, and so instead of doing what I normally do in that situation and give up, I changed tactics and stripped something challenging into its most basic form. That was to try singing whilst playing guitar. For years of trying, I could never do it, and I couldn't understand why. It was like trying to teach Shakespeare to a parrot. Possible, sure, but who has the patience? Then I thought to myself, am I running too early? As soon as I asked myself this, I realised I was picking songs that were way too complicated instead of picking a simple one first. Then last week, after a whole decade of failing, I learnt a super basic 2-chord song, and hey presto, it all fell into place, and now I can sing admittedly terribly to more complex songs. Don't underestimate the real-world confidence one success can bring. Before this breakthrough, I thought multitasking was impossible, just a system failure of the male brain, but mastering the basics flipped this perception on its head, and I can carry the same lesson onto other difficult tasks. Now, it doesn't mean you won't overshoot again and have sudden bursts of overconfidence. I know I'll get into a jam again before the week is over, but at the very least we'll read the signs quicker, being more willing and flexible to changing to a lower gear when we're running on fumes. Although now I cringe when I think back to the times I was stuck in my ways, unwilling to change course, I have found a pattern. It only took me 26 calendar years, but the penny finally dropped, and I realised that it was overcomplication that was blocking my progress, not a lack of ability that my impatient running to the finish line led me to believe. This is the case with most mental blocks. The problem's almost always overcomplication. You're doing too much. Sorry to shoehorn in another overused saying, but less is more. If you look at my old unnecessarily long videos, this truth fell on deaf ears. It bears a strong resemblance to the walking before you run adage, in that both stress that it's better to do less slowly than it is to rush ahead. Say you're a musician and you're struggling to create a song, whether it's coming up with a riff or writing lyrics. The riff might be too complicated when simple notes are what's needed, or you're forcing poetic lyrics rather than following the simple message that you started with. I'm wary that the couple of minutes I asked from you at the start has expired, so I'll keep it brief. Simply put, we can't resist obsessing over perfection. In search of the unattainable, we mess around frantically and aimlessly to unnaturally force an outcome. But, as the master sculptor and painter Michelangelo once said, even the true work of art is but a shadow of the divine perfection, so expecting it will stress you out so much that you won't know a good idea if it bit you on the nose. Doing less across the board then tends to produce more quality, as you're allowing for ideas to come out naturally, not enclosing them inside an artificial bubble of stress. And you can only glimpse the true quality ideas that are out there when you're fully absorbed in the moment, not running before walking. Thanks for watching, and if you want more where this came from, check out my overthinking playlist to quiet the noisy mind. See you next time.